Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I think we overtaxed our system this morning. We actually did our company meeting on the webinar system, and I think we threw it off. So we're up and rolling here now. It looks like everybody can see the screen and should be good to go. So check, make sure Dave is with us this morning. We're going to talk
I
about
am. How are you doing?
Hey, there he is. Hey, did you have trouble getting into the system, Dave?
No, I mean, I had to wait for you to get on, but no, it got right in.
Okay, all right, good. Well, hopefully everybody is able to see the system here and hear us just fine. So um, we're going to skip over a couple of slides and get right to, I do want to hit on Firelight for just a second, if y'all don't mind, because we are seeing a lot more of our apps come in via eApp. It saves a lot of time and effort on everybody's behalf. So want to make sure that y'all, if you're not using eApps, call your sales director and ask them about Firelight. We got a nice single sign on there, but obviously, we're very excited about today's webinar. We've seen a lot of success with Retirement Boss Radio, and so we are very, very pleased to have Dave Pimper with us this morning. He is the architect, if you will, of Retirement Boss Radio. Put that program together. He's, of course, someone that has had a lot of radio experience, probably 25 years plus of radio experience. But he built this from the ground up, tested it, made sure it worked, and based on the results that our folks are having that are using it, and certainly based on the results that Dave has had, we've got it's a fine-tuned, well-oiled machine that, frankly, is printing out commission dollars right now. So you all made a good choice to join us here this morning. We're going to hear about some really good opportunities in the radio business. And what I want you to take away, if nothing else, is that this is a system that is A to Z, everything that you need to be on the radio and to sound good and to start getting your name and image out there, and more importantly, to start getting 1, 2, 3 appointments per week, which translates into 7, 10, 12 appointments, additional appointments per month. This radio show will do that for you, and I think you'll be surprised to learn how inexpensive it is. So I did want to hit on our academies, because we have decided to add one more academy to our schedule this year. I'm going to throw this poll up. You all have had a chance to look at the screen, so you know what kind of the training includes. I'm going to throw a poll up, and if you have some interest in joining us on an academy, you certainly should put yes to this poll. And while you're making your decision there, I'm going to tell you a couple things that maybe weren't so clear from just looking at the screen. So we do have top producers that join us. It is sales and marketing. We do pay your expenses. You're going to be out of your office for 3 days. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We've got one coming up in kind of mid to late September, and another one coming up in very, very early November. So there's a couple chances yet this year. So if you're not happy with where you are from a sales standpoint and marketing standpoint, then I think you're going to be really pleased with the opportunity to join us at a sales academy, because that's 85 to 90% of what we talk about is how to, different sales and marketing initiatives that can grow your business substantially. For instance, we do talk about Retirement Boss Radio in a little bit more in depth there. We'll talk about seminars. We'll talk about specific product opportunities. We'll talk about some ways using various lead and appointment setting systems that you can grow your business. So as you can imagine, it's a very sought after. We've been doing academies for 15 plus years now. And so we've gained some notoriety, I think, across the marketplace and in the industry, is putting on a very valuable 2.5 day academy that can help guys and gals build their business. So if you have interest and you're on with us today, hit yes. If you hit yes, you'll get a registration form. And on that registration form, we'll ask for your name and contact information. And all that means is that for the next 2 academies this year, and probably for the first couple academies in the next year, we'll call you, see if it fits into your schedule, and have you, if it works for everybody, have you get in. So look at that. Make sure. We've got probably 6 or 8 folks that have not yet voted. I would encourage you to take a second and give us a yes or no. Specifically on this poll, I would say don't worry for a second about putting a no on there. If you've been to one, if you feel like your sales and marketing is right where you want it, seeing as many people as you want to see, and having as good a presentations when you see them as you like, then I would go ahead and put no on that poll. If that's not the case and you're looking to grow your business, then put a yes on there. I'll give you a second to do that. And I am looking at our attendee list. There are a couple of you out there, obviously, that are just listening and not able to vote. If you're one of those folks and you want us to send you out a registration form, dial us up here at the office, 800-255-5055. I want to get moving here, so I'm going to close that poll out. All right, here we go. So this is your opportunity to become a radio show host, and there's a lot of benefits to being on the radio, and Dave is going to talk about a couple. And at the end here, I'm going to probably put in my 2 cents worth, which is worth probably just about that when you compare it with Dave's long experience and day-to-day experience with radio. So let's turn it over to our host today, Mr. Dave Pimper.
Hey, Steve, thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone being on the line with us on a Friday. That is just great to have that many people want to know about the radio. So I'm a marketer. There's no doubt that I'll tell you right now that marketing is getting in front of people, having appointments with mainly prospects. It could be your clients, but it's a face-to-face business, or at least it's some kind of a appointment setting business. I do a lot of phone appointments with clients on the phone. It takes a little quicker, but most of my prospects are face to face. And we're going to go in why consider radio? And the radio we're considering here, it is not the 30-second or the minute ad. It is a radio show, for an hour radio show, on an AM station, and metropolitan that you need to be living in is 100,000 people or more. If it's under 100,000, it's hard to get enough people to be listening to you at one time to make the return on investment. But when you look at radio is powerful, extremely powerful. Radio reaches more Americans than any other platform, and that's including phone, personal computer. Average age is over 60, perfect for that pre-retired, just retired, that rollover money from their 401ks or their IRAs. Radio reaches a more upscale listener. Almost 93% of the people have a household income of $75,000 or more, and they average over 12 hours of listening to radio a week. If it's a younger crowd, it may be more podcasts, but the older crowd, it's more radio. Radio certainly solidifies you as an expert, and news talk radio is hot, very, very hot. Hey, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We got some kind of background noise going on, so I don't know if it's on your end or my end, but I just want to let you know that.
Let me try to mute mine, and let me know
okay.
whether you still have. I don't hear any noise here, but let's see.
All right. Okay, good. So we're going to go to the next slide here. So and if you have any questions, certainly type it on in. I'm going to be more than to help you with that. So what happens is when you're looking at radio, one of the big things is look at who's on radio. Now, Rush Limbaugh's deceased now, but Travis and Buck are some of the new guys that have come on board. They're kind of going in and carrying that torch. But Glenn Beck, Kim Mando, Dave Ramsey, most of it is conservative talk radio. But in Chicago, it's a big liberal or progressive station that has done very well in the past with financial. And I just gave a quote out to one of the IM's folks in the Chicago area, 5,800 watt station. So, but AM is normally the mainstay. We also have one up in the mid high up in the lakes, the Great Lakes area, where we're doing FM. It's an ESPN station on Saturday morning at 8 to 9. Just a great time slot, and we're getting some really good play on that. So we have a media buyer that goes out and buys the media. And that media buyer has been around for 25 years. His family in the radio business over 60 years. His grandpa still owns in the dad radio stations. But what happens is there's just the big thing here is you've got really 4 areas of radio. The big thing is you have to find a radio station that has the right time spot at the right price and at the right cost. Those 3 things have to line up. That happens about half of the time. And then you've got a production company that's all under, I bring everything together, and they actually have a co-host. They supply show notes. I redo the show notes some. We have new show notes every single week, and we record. It's a recorded show, recorded at your home, recorded in your office, even your car if you've got a good Wi-Fi connection. What happens is our show's for an hour, but we actually only record for half an hour because we repeat the second show. It saves us $1,000 on production costs, which is a big deal. So, and then the call center, the people who take the calls when they come on in, that's a high-end, high-touch inbound call center. So even though the show's recorded, we're saying that 800 number, and every 800 number or 888 number or toll-free number ends with 2677, which is BOSS, BOSS for Retirement Boss Radio, which is kind of unique. So, and then I coach you up what to say, what not to say, how to be a good radio host. And I've done radio for over 30 of my 41 years in this industry. It's a turnkey system, and that's real important. So when they call on in, and you can kind of see this is kind of small, but you get over emailed, and it says turning 59 soon, hasn't settled in on someone yet, has a 401k that is 7-figure, actually it's just under $1 million. Also had questions about Social Security. If you don't know Social Security, I will coach you up on Social Security for 3 coaching sessions. No cost. IAMS pays for that. If you go to www.retirementbossradio.com, that's a lot of the podcasts that are in there. I say podcasts, I mean they're the recordings, but you can kind of hear the quality, and believe me, they make the average person sound very good. But go up on www.Retirement Boss Radio, and there's a white page. It's our website for Retirement Boss Radio. So cost, yeah, I just quoted that one in Chicago today. It was $3,250 all in per month, all in to be on an hour that reaches in the Chicago. It could be millions of people, but the cost is normally between $3,000 and $4,000. There are locations available, not all, but we certainly have locations available. I train you, I coach you. Not very many FMOs. They have other radio people that have radio, but to actually have a coach, that's something unique. Called Studio in a Box, costs about $250. Professional mic, professional headphones, a little sound box that's foamed to muffle the sound. Yeah, but you're going to be out of pocket about $250. That's your only upfront cost. Other than that, then it's between $3,000 and $4,000 a month, and normally all in. The end result is just more appointments. That's what we want to do. Is we want to have a lot more appointments. This last slide talks is Al Jolson, which is an old actor, and it says, "I'd like to do radio just like pictures. Leave the imperfect stuff on the cutting room floor." Well, now you can, because this is completely recorded. There's an old saying. It says, "Procrastination is my sin. It brings me constant sorrow. I really shouldn't practice it. Perhaps I'll stop." You know what? Tomorrow never comes. If you heard something you like, maybe I need to look at radio. What am I doing right now? We're trying to get 10 plus appointments a week, 10 plus appointments a month, 2 to 3 a week. 2 to 3 a week. 2 weeks ago, unbelievably, I had 7 set appointments. They're set up on my calendar because we use an electronic calendar with the call center, so they see the blocked out times we have. It's a turnkey system, and you're able to call me anytime you want to help on the radio show. So we put up a poll here. Would you like to discuss information on Retirement Boss Radio? And if you do, mark yes. Brady Pelzer will give you a call. Hey, if you mark yes, take Brady's call. That's important. You take his call. He'll call you today if you mark yes. But we'll sit down on the phone and talk for 15, 20, 25 minutes. But what you're marketing, if radio could be something in your neck of the woods that could help you get appointments. So, Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take it from here.
Thanks, Dave. Good stuff as always. So a couple of questions about area availability. So the first step, if someone has interest and they want to find out about what if there are areas available at all, and what stations and things like that. What's the first step that they should make?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, you just got so much background noise there, Steve. It's hard to even understand. Let me tell you real quick. Steve said. Steve was just asking about availability of radio shows and of radio sites, and there's lots of not everyone, because we certainly got other people that are out and about in the different metropolitan areas, but it needs to be 100,000 people or more. That's real important. If it's not that size, it's just going to be hard for you to go on in and to have enough people listen to make the return on your investment. And when you're paying out, $3,000-4,000 a month, we need those appointments to come on in, those set appointments. So that's kind of how that works with the locations.
Perfect, Dave. Is it any better?
Yeah, it is better now. I can certainly hear you great now.
Well, I turned my speaker up here, so hopefully that background noise is not too overpowering. I apologize for that. A question regarding cost. You mentioned $4,000, and the question is, does that include everything? Does that include training, or what's the breakdown on that?
Yeah, all in cost. That's a monthly cost. So that's your airtime cost, which is the biggest thing. That is the broadcasting cost or the production cost. So they supply the co-host, which if you go on www Retirement Boss Radio, you'll hear that. He's very good at what he does. He's a pro in the industry. We use the same one for everybody. He's very good. He understand. I redo the show notes they give me. I want to make sure that like Social Security, it's a hot topic, and I want to make sure we talk about Social Security. We coach you up on Social Security. So there's 3 coaching sessions, 45 minutes each, and you get a lot of attachments, almost 20 attachments with that. Just to really understand Social Security, because there's about a third of the calls that come in are from Social Security. And then the call center. It's a live call center. They set your appointment right then. It's set up on your calendar. So yeah, there's certainly a lot of help from me. I critique shows, tell you what to say, what not to say, what you can say, what you can't say. And those are broad subjects. Those are not sell subjects, selling fixed index, selling life insurance, selling wealth management, not at all. This is all about concepts. So just to give you the idea, and it's recorded, which is nice, so you can start things over, redo it, but just give you an idea of the concepts here. So this is kind of from the last show. Create a financial plan. Well, the intro is coming up on today's show will highlight some steps you can take now to try to help you achieve a comfortable retirement. Yes, it all starts with a plan. Stay tuned. Then the bullet points are, we talk about creating a financial plan, getting out of debt, create tax-deferred sources of income, asset allocation of investments, create tax-diversified sources of income, and asset allocation. And we always have a quote. Like this quote here was from his name is Kevin Patrick Brady, and the quote is, it's because we talked about inflation. It says, inflation destroys savings, impedes planning, and discourages investment. That means less productivity and lower standard of living. We have a whole show on this talking about it. We have segments that we actually have experts that are out there with CNCB, for Fox, for Forbes, for different managers, but there'll be clips that we run, and then we talk about it. That's what we did on the whole inflation piece. So it's a turnkey system, A through Z, but I can certainly help you really get up and running, which most FMOs that have radio, that isn't the case. They give you a blueprint. It may be a good program, but it's like, go get them. Kind of in the old days, 30, 40 years ago, I can remember a manager of mine said, he said, every prospect that you want is in this phone book. Start calling. we don't do that. We're here to help you.
He wasn't lying to you though, Dave.
No, that's right. They are in there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Weren't those the days?
Those were the days, yeah. So we've got about 4 or 5 people yet to vote, and again, I will reiterate what I said before. Don't be afraid to put a no if that's where you're leaning. It helps us to know. Otherwise, we'll probably want to check in with you. Our number here is 800-255-5055. I'm going to shut down that poll a second, Dave, and I'm going to take folks to your website. I also chatted Dave's website, but I'm going to show them where those podcasts are. So if you could vote real quick, then we'll go out to Dave's website. That would be helpful. So, Tom, Okay, so Tom has a broker dealer. Is this a broker dealer approved show?
Well, it depends on that broker dealer. Like with my broker dealer, they want the actual recording of the show every week. They want the show notes every week. They review that every week, and I have had no problem. We've had we've had big independents. We've had regional firms that have used this and that have okayed it. As long as they get the show notes and they get and you if I say the word guarantee, because I'm talking about a fixed indexed annuity, I may not say fixed index, but something that has a contractual guarantee, then I have to say, as everyone knows, that guarantee is only as good as the company that financially backs that. They want me to use that disclaimer right when I say it, which I do. We have a disclaimer for the show. We have a disclaimer after the show that we read. I don't read it just at the end. I read it at the beginning too. So if we're covered pretty well. We haven't had any problem with the broker dealers as long as you get the information that they want. Now there might be something to listen to the show, maybe like ours. They want something particular when you say guarantee, or they don't want you saying something. But this is pretty broad. We're never recommending. This is strictly an educational show.
So Dave, the question is, do we get a script?
Yeah, you do. The show notes is a script. It'll be a couple 3-page script. I get those show notes from my production company. I change those show notes. I take some out. I put some in. You should go from the show notes. If you try to wing it on yourself, good luck. It's tough. But having a co-host is he's like a color guy. He makes you look good. But I think you should go 75, 80% from the show notes. You don't want to get way off on tangents because then you kind of get lost in the jungle. But it's really a good guide, and I bullet point those show notes. They're easy to follow. You'll get a real good feeling of them when you do them every single week.
Perfect. And I know you've mentioned this to me, and I thought I'd mention it to the group. You spend about how much time each week actually kind of looking at the notes, maybe doing a little bit of rehearsal by yourself, and then actually recording the show? How much time do you dedicate to that each week?
Oh, a minimum of an hour to an hour and 15, 20 minutes. I mean, like I just did one on inherited IRAs, so I wanted to make positive on inherited on the 10-year rule. Okay, I wanted to make sure if there's any difference between Roth and traditional. So I will go up on different sites, and I don't have to do that too often, Steve, because I have a background on retirement plans. But I just want to make sure I'm saying the right thing. Oh, like we did one a couple of weeks ago on the Secure Act 2.0. That's where they're looking at upping the RMD, from 72 to 73, eventually in the next 6, 7, 8 years to 75. I wanted to make specifics on some of the things, so I added to the show notes some of the other things about company retirement plans, and so there's just I want to make sure I'm comfortable with all the material. People who practice, people who are responsible of going over the material and really understanding it well, they do better. They do better when they're on the air. I mean, I want to practice because practice, it doesn't make perfect, okay, but it certainly goes on in and leads you down that right path of being ready to have a really good radio show for that hour.
And I just put up your website for Retirement Boss Radio, and so right now we're scrolling down, having a peek at your kind of your podcasts where you have them recorded so people can listen to them. And as we can see, they're all 26 minutes and 57 seconds long. You might want to talk through why that is, because you do an hour show once a week. And by the way, that $4,000 is not a weekly cost, and it's not actually the cost. It can vary some. As Dave mentioned, depending on the size of the station, and 95% of that cost is actually paying for your time on the radio, but it can vary. So walk through why these are in half-hour increments.
Yeah, radio is the most expensive part of it, but it probably covers, depending on the radio station, but 60-70% of the cost is in radio. The rest is in production and call center. But together, $3,000 to $4,000 a month. We record for a half an hour. There's actually 4 segments in an hour. We record 2 segments. The other two segments we take from a show 4 weeks beforehand. So in the beginning, when you start out, no, you're going to do a couple, 3 or 4 shows within a week, week and a half, and then we'll start doing a show every week, and you start using those old shows. By far, most people don't listen for a full hour. I just did a piece of business yesterday, Steve. It was small, only 55,000, but he listened to me he's listened to me for over a year, and he said I've never called in, and finally he said I called in, and I normally don't work at something that small, but you know what? I helped him. There is some revenue from it, but the only reason we got it strictly was through a thrift savings plan. He worked for the Veterans Association, an old veteran himself. Yeah, but you know what? I tell you what. The day before yesterday, I did 115,000, and that came from radio. I mean, radio has been just an extremely good way to market my business, get well known, build my brand. I'm viewed as a celebrity when people come in. It's like, hey, you're the guy, and whether that's true or not, I do love that a lot of that road is paved for you as far as building that confidence. So it's very radio and television both, but radio in particular, it has a lot of celebrity status to it for you.
Yeah, you see that when you're walking around your town now, and when you're on the golf course, wherever you're at, people do. You're certainly a more recognizable figure since you've been on the radio now for what, two and a half, 3 years now.
It's been 3.5 years now. Yeah, and I was on a radio show called Your Money Matters in another town. I was on that for 11 years. That was a live show, and boy, I tell you what, it was kind of fun getting there Saturday morning. It started at 7:45. It was 7:45 till 8:30. It was for 45 minutes. But I will tell you right now, that got to be a drag because you couldn't even. We were taking vacations after the show. It was just a drag. This is recorded. You can do when you want to. You can do it at your leisure. So it's pretty nice when it's a recorded show.
Yep. So there are a couple more specific questions about cost, which I think is good. I think people having concern or questions about what the costs are and what are you paying for when you get the radio. I think those are good questions. So walk us very specifically through the costs of radio.
Yeah. So the cost is a couple, 3-part. You've got the radio station, the slot to get your hour time slot. That's the major cost. Second is production of the show. So they have to mix it, edit it. They've got to make sure it's an hour long. And there's a cost there. There's a cost for the call center. That takes the inbound calls and sets them on your appointment. So we call back on Monday morning and verify them, but it's all done. All the heavy lifting is done. And then there is not a cost for me, and I'm the coach. I bring it all together. Now, do I get paid? I do. I get paid by IAMS. IAMS knows that with doing radio, the chance of you doing more business is pretty darn good. And they stipend me to go in and to keep you on board, answer any questions. They pay me for the coaching I do around Social Security claiming. So it's IAMS has got certainly a financial stake in your radio show, and hopefully you're able to bring in a lot of appointments and do a lot of business with part of it through IAMS or all of it through IAMS, which is what makes the world go round. Everybody is kind of a happy camper if that happens.
And so the call center is a set cost, the production is a set cost. The call center is about how much? I know that might vary a little bit, but what's the cost?
Call center run a couple $100 a month, about $200 a month.
And
we share production costs will run $1,000 a month.
And then
so
the
you've
rest
got
is
1,200,
basically,
and the rest is basically what the cost is of the radio. That's exactly right. Yep.
And it's the cost of the radio that if you're in a marketplace with a certain number and they go to a certain number of folks, then could be one. But if you're in LA and you're going to a big audience, that could be quite a bit more.
Well, just like I was pretty darn fortunate. It's interesting. The Chicago, who he is, Steve. He's out of Chicago, pretty good size hitter, and he's which is great. I mean, there's liberals and there's conservative. He happens to be liberal and is political. And I said, would you mind going on a conservative talk show? And he goes, no. I mean, he said, money is green. It makes no difference to me. He said, my political views normally don't come up with my clients. Well, we couldn't find because of cost, but we found a liberal station, a progressive station, and I called him, and he was familiar, with the station. He said, I will check that out. He said that could be something. And there's another FMO that has that actually our radio media buyer has purchased for, and they're averaging 2-3 appointments a week and being very successful with it. So there's no reason why we won't be successful also. So I certainly hope he takes that. I think there'll be some really great appointments coming his way.
You betcha. What is your average appointments per week?
I would say 2 to 3. I want to get 10 a month. So if it's a 4-week month, we get 2. It could be 8 to 10. If it's a 5-week month, you might get 9 to 12. I've had the lowest I've ever had is 8 appointments in any given month in 3.5 years of doing Retirement Bus Radio, and I've had a couple months over 20 appointments, which is wild.
Yeah, that's ridiculous
Yep.
for the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love ridiculous.
If it's in the right direction.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me see. Been a lot of good questions. Thank you, everybody. I just want to see if I've missed any here. I would say no. I think one of the missing pieces here that doesn't get talked about enough, we kind of referred to it a little bit, but you do build up a notoriety in your area over time with being on the radio that it's undeniably beneficial. So if you do anything else, like you do seminars, for instance, David, I'm guessing that probably the fact that people has heard you on the radio probably helps you from, a seminar attendance standpoint.
Oh yeah, and what I do is I say in my seminar, I let everybody know, hey, I'm on at 12 o'clock. Maybe some of you listen to me. I'm at 12 o'clock at KFAB, Retirement Boss Radio. Certainly tune on in. No, there's some cross-marketing ideas between the two, but I will say this: there's more people that do seminars than do a radio host show. And most people say, I tried radio, didn't work. I said, well, how long was your radio show? Oh no, I did a 30-second ad. I'm telling you what, for the financial business, I'm not saying it can't work, but Steve, how many? And you work with thousands of agents.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How many 30-second or 15-second or minute radio spots have you heard where people have been highly successful with getting appointments?
I honestly can't tell you that I know of one. Now
I don't either.
Yeah. Now Gary does advertising for his show regularly on 15 and 30 and 1 minute.
Different. Yep. We do it on like this guy in Chicago. He gets 10 or 15 promos per week promoting a show. I get, I think, 15 20-second promos promoting my show. Dave Pimper with Retirement Boss Radio. Tune in and find out everything. At 12 noon every Sunday, they promote the show. That's to drive traffic.
Yeah.
But just on a standalone, I do marketing all the time. I'm not saying that there aren't some that it could be successful, but it's never been successful for me or anyone I've known. But for being a radio host, you go up on your locale, you look at who's doing financial shows, I'll almost assure you that they're successful at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Good. Well, there may be more questions. It looks like all but one of our attendees today is going to join you for at least a conversation about radio. So that's good. If you have any additional questions, certainly that's a great time to put them to Dave and get the answers that you're looking for. We appreciate you all taking some time on a Friday and joining us. I apologize for the background noise. I'm not sure what's causing that. I probably have to replace some equipment here.
But you sound great now. Whatever it was before is all gone. So no, you sound as good as you're going to sound. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's not get carried away. Great's a lot.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you taking your time out of your schedule to join us, to join Dave and I here this morning. And Dave, I appreciate you running through Retirement Boss Radio. I think there's a tremendous opportunity. Obviously, the marketplace has presented all of us that are in this business right now a tremendous opportunity. Rising rates and market volatility certainly leads people to seek assistance, or at least leads people to think maybe I'm interested and might need some help. But a lot of times people need something to calm, to kind of break the inertia of doing nothing. And whether that's on the radio or whether it's via seminar or whether you're doing a phone call or whether, there's a lot of ways you can do that. But I think, Dave, you would agree that the momentum you have built over the past 3.5 years with radio has been kind of a changer for your business. And a lot of that is just, it's a great sounding show, and they do a great job with it. And you can still insert enough of your personality. Some of the shows that you might see out there are 100% scripted. They want you to basically read off a script. Dave, the Retirement Bus Radio, it gives you the freedom, and you've got great interaction with the sidekick. You're kind of your own Ed McMahon type of individual that really makes for a strong radio show. So I would encourage you to go to that website, take a look at or listen to a couple radio shows, take a look at some of the information there and see if it's a good fit. Thank you all for taking the time to vote, and we look forward to finding ways to help you grow your business. It's important from the IAMS. It's basically part of our mission statement is to help independent producers feel like they've got a home for their business. And for a lot of that means helping you find ways to meet new people and feed the insatiable beast that is a small business. So anything we can do to help you with that, we are on board. So thanks for joining us today. Dave, is there anything that you want to add as we close out?
No, I just appreciate everyone being on the line. Have a happy Friday and a great rest of your weekend.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Okay, bye now.